haven't spoken publicly really until today. And just to either of you, why are you breaking your silence? What do you want people to know?
Well, for starters, Brooke, Cindy and I knew the day we met Otto at the airport that we were gonna share our experience. The horribleness of what North Korea did to him was so devastating to our family that we experienced a shock that I have never experienced in my life. As a family, we needed to come together and process this as best we could. And over the past 3 months, we've started the grief process. My kids, Austin and Greta, are amazing. And now we see North Korea with the tensions claiming to be a victim, and they're claiming that the world is picking on them. And we're here to tell you, as witnesses to the terror of their regime, North Korea is not a victim. So we felt it was time to tell the truth about the condition that Otto was in.
Let's start there. Mrs. Warmbier, if you don't mind, just
Sure.
tell me about the day
Sure.
that you saw him.
In the morning of the day that he was going to be medvaced home, Senator Portman called us to tell us we weren't sure that North Korea was going to release him, even though we knew he was in a coma and that he had been in a coma pretty much shortly after his trial. And so he was out of their airspace. So Senator Portman said he'll be home tonight. And I said to him, can you tell me how Otto, how his brain is functioning? We're really optimistic people, and so we were just still hopeful that we would get Otto back and he could be like, with good American health care, he could improve and be okay. And Senator Portman said it was severe brain damage. So, still not knowing what that entailed, we went to the airport and waited, and we were kept away from all the press. We weren't sure what was going on, but we knew that the press wasn't going to be involved because this was our private time with Otto. So I'm going to let Fred start, but we were at a little private hangar and tarmac, and the plane landed. And
using the term coma for Otto's condition is completely unfair. Otto had severe brain damage. Otto was systematically tortured and intentionally injured by Kim and his regime. And this was no accident. They intentionally injured Otto. I'll tell you what it was like when we met Otto at the airport. We were in a waiting room, and the plane comes near to where we are. The medical team agrees they'll go out and meet Otto first, and then they come down 5 or 7 minutes later, and it's time for the family to go up and meet him. And so we walked out to the plane. The engines are whining. It's myself, Cindy, Austin, and Greta. We climb the stairs to meet with Otto. Halfway up the stairs, we hear this loud, guttural, howling, inhuman sound. We don't know what it is. We continue up the steps. We get to the top of the steps, and we look across in the airplane, and Otto is laying on a stretcher. He's strapped to the stretcher, and he's moving around and jerking violently, making these howling, inhuman sounds. Greta and Cindy go down the steps. It's too much for them to handle. Austin and I walk over to Otto, and he's in this condition. He has a shaved head. His eyes are darting around in the, they're as big as saucers. He's blind, he's deaf, he's got a feeding tube, and we kneel down and we hug him and try to connect with him, and he's a complete vegetable. And his bottom teeth looked like they had taken a pair of pliers and rearranged them. And so there was no comforting Otto. This was horrible. And this noise he kept doing this.
We weren't prepared for this at all. No one.
How could you be?
No one
How could you be?
had any idea going in there what we were going to see. His hands and legs were
Totally deformed.
and he was
You
in
know,
this
you want to
weird
say
position.
you want to say this was not our son. This was our son,
Yeah.
and we're proud of him.
Yeah.
But this was our son, and this was the condition that Kim and his regime intentionally put him in.
How I'm listening to you and I'm just trying to. How did he die? How did he die specifically?
Well, who
Has it been
knows?
explained to you?
Oh, you mean in the
fever.
Well, oh, sure. 2 days after Otto came home, his fever spiked to over 104 degrees. Otto had this huge scar on his right foot. He was on his deathbed when he came home to us. This was not a pleasant sight. This
That's
was a
why they
horrible
released
sight.
him. They didn't want him to die on their soil.
How has it been explained to you what North Korea did? When you say torture, what did they do? Do you know?
Well, no. North Korea doesn't even acknowledge that. They considered it a humanitarian gesture,
That they
sending
released
Otto home. His teeth looked like they had been rearranged with a pair of pliers. You can only look at the evidence. A perfectly healthy young American visiting there, an innocent young American, comes home with severe brain damage. But it's not like it happened and they shipped him home immediately. It's a year later. These people are terrorists. Kim and his regime intentionally injured Otto.
Help me understand, because
Sure.
looking at the doctors, they said, it suffered extensive loss of brain tissue, consistent with cardiopulmonary arrest, was in a state of unresponsive wakefulness, didn't know what caused his brain damage. They say he didn't show any obvious indications of trauma or evidence of either acute or healing fractures. Why opt out of an autopsy?
That's a really good question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Otto and our family have been through enough. Enough. Otto was abandoned by his family, his country, and the rest of the world. He was kidnapped in North Korea. He was isolated from his family and the world. He was paraded in front of their public. Our family and Otto were humiliated by the North Koreans. And ultimately, when Kim made the decision, Otto was tortured and essentially murdered. Enough. Enough. Otto is at peace, and it's about time.
I wasn't going to let him out of my sight, and I didn't. And she did a visual. Our coroner did a visual, and then she's the one that brought up that huge scar on his foot.
What happened to his foot?
We don't know.
You have no idea.
It covered the entire top of his foot. How do you get a scar that covers the entire top of your foot? It looked like, she said it had to be an open wound for months and months and months.
What has the U.S. government said to you?
We don't engage with them at this level, and it's not that we can't. We don't need to ask them what condition or what happened to Otto.
In general, I mean, obviously you want this
Yeah.
designation. What kind
Yeah.
of, any information has the government given to you?
None.
In fact,
None,
like
but
I
we don't
said,
need it.
Right.
And we're not here to badmouth the Obama administration, the State Department, any of them. This is solely the responsibility of the Kim regime, Kim and his regime.
And nobody should go there, ever. Nobody needs to go there. It was legal. He went with the tour group. nobody needs to go there. You know, the Wall Street Journal just went there. They show you what they want you to see. So why are we playing into this? Why do we play into this at all anymore? I mean, I don't want to see anyone else hurt or taken.
That's also why you're speaking out.
Oh, yeah.
How are you feeling? How
You
are
know,
you feeling?
I'm feeling like I'm getting stronger all the time. Every day I think of Otto. I mean, almost every minute of every day I think of Otto. He's always going to be with me. It's a wonderful memory. And I don't want to remember Otto in North Korea or in the hospital. I have enough fantastic memories of the 21 years we had together. So
Can we
that's
end
what
on
I
that? Can I
focus
just,
on.
in my last 2
Oh,
minutes,
sure.
can you
Absolutely.
tell me about Otto? What do you think
Thank
about in your bones about your son?
He was a good boy. He was all boy. So again, when you have to remind yourself that he wasn't perfect and that he would call you up and talk, and then you realize he's scamming you because he wants to borrow money or something. So he was all boy, but he was loving and kind, and we just we had fun together, and we were older when we had kids. We wanted to be a part of our kids' lives. We're currently a part of our other kids' lives. And so we have no regrets. I can honestly say that. And I would point out, when Otto was kidnapped, our family got together and we had to make a decision on how we were going to move forward with this new situation. And we also had to do it again, by the way, when Otto was sent home and ultimately passed away and we buried him. We had to make a decision on how we're going to move forward, and we said Otto's death and circumstances are not an excuse to fail. And then if the reverse were true and Cindy and I were killed, we would need Otto to carry on, to be a positive person, and to do the absolute best that he could in life. And that's what we're charged with as well.
Yeah.
And we're proud. We're
Yeah,
proud
no,
people.
I can. Proud people, proud parents. I have 20 seconds left, just finally, to hear from a mother's voice
Sure.
about her son.
I have so many great stories, but I'll share this one. Fred and I, for our, I think it was our 25th wedding anniversary, we went to Glacier National Park, and Otto was in charge of the other two younger kids, and he wanted to give them a special day. So he took them to a gorge, hiking at a gorge, just on a day trip, and brought them back, and he surprised them, and he told us he was going to do it. But that's what he was. He was a giver. He never complained about taking care of the kids, and he just gave them a great day that they'll remember.
Mr. and Mrs. Warmbier, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I am so sorry. Your message is heard.